Greetings. I'm going to call this meeting to order. It is October 21st. This is a regular meeting for the City of Coeur d'Alene City Council. Roll call, please. Joe?
Gabriel?
Here.
Gookin?
Yeah.
English?
Here.
Wood?
Here.
Evans?
Here.
Miller?
Here.
Thank you, Joe. Our invocation tonight's from Logan's Enfield, from the heart of the City Church. If you would please stand and stay standing for the pledge.
Jesus, we thank you for this opportunity to gather today. God, we pray, Lord, that wisdom would reign. God, that you would give each of us understanding. Lord, that you would minister in the midst of all that goes on in here, that your presence would fill this space. We thank you, God, that we live in a country where we can do things like this. God, we thank you for freedom, and we thank you for this city. We thank you for our council. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Logan. Mr. Gookin, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Thank you. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Any amendments to the agenda, Council?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to add an action item to our public hearing to have a discussion on council and potential direction to staff to discuss eliminating Appaloosa as the main egress or the south ingress to Coeur and changing it to Nez Perce.
And that's a motion. I'll second that motion.
And Mr. Mayor, so this isn't on our agenda, but it was mentioned in the executive team meeting that this topic has come up and that the only way we can discuss it is to amend the agenda.
Randy, any thoughts on that?
Well, this would be covered by Idaho Code Section 74-204. An agenda may be amended after the start of a meeting upon a motion that states the reason for the amendment, states the good faith reason the agenda item was not included in the original agenda posting. And final action may not be taken on that agenda item after the start of a meeting unless an emergency is declared necessitating action at that meeting. And the declaration and justification must be reflected in the minutes of the council.
So do I need to do the emergency thing, right?
Yes, you would need, the council would need to declare an emergency which necessitates action at this meeting.
So what is the definition, the legal definition of an emergency?
I don't know that there is a legal definition of an emergency. Something that is urgent, it would be the something that could not be postponed.
Very good. I believe I can do that. I would say, given the nature of this development and that it is moving forward, and we have concerned citizens, that giving this direction, and council, this is just direction. This is not making a decision. Would be us deciding to direct staff at this early stage in the development process would be more beneficial than putting it off.
What do you think? It's
Up to council to make that. It's up to council to make
All right.
that determination.
There's some discussion then. Kiki?
I just want to be clear. I thought what I heard you say is that we could amend the agenda and talk about it, but we don't have to take action on it.
We can't. If it's not an action item, you don't take, you don't have to take action on it. You can only take action if there's an emergency.
And so I will reiterate, so the purpose of this, obviously the developer is here, we have city staff here. I don't want to make sausage, I just want to offer direction to staff to work with the developer if that's the desire of council, to work with the developer to change that from Appaloosa to Nez Perce. And so it would just be at this point telling staff to enter a discussion, at which point they would come back to us and could say the developer finds it unfeasible, staff finds it unfeasible, but we should know. And that's kind of where I want to go with this.
Mr. English?
Oh, well, I think it's good to have the discussion. I guess I'm on the fence a little if it rises to emergency, but that is it's a decision point, and I think what I'm hearing from Mr. Gookin is, the actual action is, not that we're going to pick one or the other, but giving staff direction to take a look, and then it'll come back and we'll get to chew on it, because also people in the development or the public at large should know if we're really going to do something. So anyway, I support doing it, and given the conditions, I'm okay with the emergency declaration.
Mr. Mayor?
Christie.
I think it's always good for us to have discussion. I don't see any issue of why we shouldn't move forward with just discussion.
Any other? Kenny.
I'm all in on the discussion point. I just have a problem with making a decision tonight when I don't have all the information I need to make the decision. So having a discussion is a great idea, but not a fan of an action item right now.
All right. Let's move forward on that, see where it goes. Okay. So let's see, where was I? Oh, presentations.
Sir,
we
you have
take a
to,
vote.
should take
Oh, we're going to vote on it?
a roll call on that,
To
please.
amend or not.
Do it, all right.
Mr. Mayor,
Got to be formal.
can, Joe, will you please repeat the motion?
Motion by Gookin, seconded by Wood, to have a discussion of council to direct staff to work with developer to change from Appaloosa to
Nez Perce. And however you spell that, it's fine.
I would be, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
more comfortable if we amended the motion not to change from Appaloosa to Nez Perce. We may land there that we want to change that, but explore the possibility of changing.
I'm good with that.
Guys, okay?
Okay.
Good. All right, well, let's move forward on that. You got that changed? Okay. So
Take a
we'll do a
vote.
roll call.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
All right. Moving on, presentations. Tonight, we have Rhodes Scholar Award by Daniel Sefon and Rhodes Scholar Roadmaster Awards to David Tracy. Welcome, you guys.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Cheney Rhodes. I'm the T2 Director with LTAC and T2. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to give these awards in front of your guys' council meeting tonight. One of the things that I want to highlight real quick, I know you have a full schedule, so I'll keep this short, but when they receive the Rhodes Scholar, they've attended 80-plus hours of training, and in that 80 hours of training, most of those classes are tested. And so you guys, as the council members that approve the budget along with your training budget, we have the tests so that it shows you guys that the training that is being provided, that the employees that you are sending are actually testing and passing these courses so that they are retaining the information that the instructors for the T2 Center are providing around the state. And then as the Roadmaster, it's another 80 hours. So your Roadmaster, David Tracy, has 160 hours of technical training, anywhere from pavement maintenance to speed zones and speed studies to traffic control supervisors or technicians. So a broad range of everything that they do within your street departments, within any of your construction projects. And then we're always an available source if there's ever questions outside of what maybe they're comfortable with or need advice on. And so our office is always open. And we've also developed, so as the Road Scholar and the Roadmaster, we didn't want to leave employees after that, and we wanted to, and I was having a discussion earlier, as I travel around the state and teach, there's a lot of new employees. A lot of times jurisdictions have employees that are 1 year to 3 years, some 3 to 8. Very seldom do I see a 10 to 15 anymore, and it's really not often that I see 15 to 25 years anymore. And so what we've noticed too is we're seeing a lot of new leaders. And when we look at leaders, a lot of times we pull them from our working ranks, and they're our doers. But then when we put them in a leadership role, we fail them because they're used to doing and not leading. And so we've developed a leadership program that talks to them about jurisdictions, the organization of highway districts, why we're here, how we budget, the legal aspects of what we do and why we budget, and also how to lead, prepare them to lead. And we've also, in the process of developing a class, I'll hopefully have a dry or a beta run of it this winter, and we'll bring it this spring, and it's working amongst generations. The other thing I'm finding is we're working amongst 6 generations together, and sometimes I see struggles with that when we've got the older generation trying to work with the younger generation, and those struggles are at both ends. And so I'm excited for that class to come, and when I look at the leadership, I don't look at it just as leadership, I look at it as professional development, because really we look at our employees and every one of them have some kind of a leadership quality or need in our organizations, whether it be train the new guy or show the new guy what we do, our standards, procedures, and policies. So when we look at that program, it's not just for your leaders, it's for your employees, prepping them to become leaders at some point in your jurisdiction. And so I encourage David to continue with the training and come to some of those trainings and pursue his professional development for you guys and for him as well. So if I could, after I give the awards, if I can have them stand up and get a picture with you guys, would that be okay? And then I will relieve my time so you guys can get going on, okay? So first we have David Tracy. In lieu of time, David, I'm going to give you your Road Scholar and your Roadmaster. The Road Scholar comes with a hat, a plaque, and a Leatherman. The Roadmaster comes with a coat and a plaque, and it's a coat that's got the insignia that says T2 Roadmaster. When they finish the leadership courses, it actually comes with a Stanley mug. We were trying to think, what can we give that they don't have or what they need? And they need the Stanley, they need the coat, especially this time of the year. And as I travel around, I always see Stanleys sitting around on the desks, and I was telling Nancy that takes care of all of our scheduling, she goes, well, that's what we should give them. And so we've got Stanleys, they're black, and it actually says Leadership Program, T2 Leadership Program. So he still has one more step, hopefully, that you guys will allow and your management will allow you to attend. But I'll go ahead and give him his, and then we'll give Daniel your Road Scholar and get the picture. Again, I thank you guys for putting money in the budget for technical training and bettering your guys' agency. Okay, thank you. So, David. Again, I'm going to give these both to you. So there's your Road Scholar and your Roadmaster Award with your hat. And your Leatherman.
Sweet.
And your coat. Your hands aren't full, are they? Thank you, sir. Thank you. And then Daniel, I hope I'm back soon giving you a coat, sir.
Yeah.
There's your plaque.
Thank you.
Your hat. And your Leatherman.
Thank you.
And if I can get you guys up here, I'll take a picture real quick. And then Daniel.
So are we supposed to, oh.
So we'll do it this way.
Do you want us down there or up here?
If I can get you guys to like maybe sit there and then that. There we go.
There we go.
Here.
3, 2, 1. Now I need to get this up here. 3, 2, 1. Again, thank you guys.
Great.
Thank
Very
you.
cool.
Thank you. All right, moving on, public comments. So I've got a list of everybody that wants to comment. You have 3 minutes, and there's a timer there. If you can kind of stick with that, we can keep moving here. First up, Brady Bengal. Brady? Welcome.
Mayor McEvers, council members. My name's Brody Bagnall. I moved to Coeur d'Alene 6 months ago, after separating from the Air Force, my wife and I did 10 years in service. We moved to Coeur d'Alene with a dream to raise a family in a beautiful place where our family could be safe, and we had a tight-knit community. When we moved here, I had a hard time finding work in the current job market, but I started a business called Pacific Northwest Sauna. In June of this year, we launched a community sauna at Atlas Park and operated that community sauna through the summer, growing our customer base and membership base to people from all around North Idaho. From Rathdrum, from the Spokane Valley, from Coeur d'Alene, from Post Falls, people coming to Atlas Park specifically to use the sauna. 2 weeks ago on Thursday, I received an email from Parks and Rec saying that I had 3 days to vacate the park out of nowhere. Completely pulling the rug out from under our winter operations plan because I thought we were going to be able to be there running our sauna during the winter. And I'm not here to advocate specifically for my business. I just want to advocate for the community of Coeur d'Alene and for the establishment of a process where vendors like myself with winter-themed businesses can set up and operate in community parks, because I think it's awesome that we're able to use our parks even during the cold times and come together and find community even during the cold and dark times. That's all I have. Thank you.
Get back to you, Brody. Mike Gridley. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Mike Gridley. I am the retired city attorney, retired. And first off, every time I'm here, I like to say thank you for everything you guys do. I am retired, but I live here and enjoy living here. I've been in, when I was working here from 2002 to 2022, I worked on a lot of projects, including this library, McEwen Park, the Education Corridor, the Kroc Center, Atlas Mill Site, and the waterfront along the Spokane River. I'm concerned living here because of a growing division that not only nationwide, but I think in our community. And I think the division is caused many times by misinformation that's being put out by people, especially elected officials. There was a study I saw recently that said that one of the things we have in common as Americans is a growing distrust of government, and that comes from misinformation being put out. So there's a piece of misinformation that, because I was involved in the project, I want to speak to. And that's a statement that was made in a voter guide that said the current project at the Atlas Mill site is using government money to build homes for millionaires. That is absolutely false. It's never been true, and it is false today as it was, it always has been. So that project was done and has been very successful. It got waterfront property for the public. We built trails and dog park and a lot of amenities for the public that otherwise wouldn't have happened because we were able to acquire the railroad. We remediated the brownfields that were at Atlas Mill site and all that. So that's in a voter guide, and that is information provided by Mr. Gukin. And I would ask that he correct that information because it is not correct. That's my comment.
Thanks, Mike.
Mr. Mayor.
Denise Singer, next.
Hello, my name is Denise Singery. I'm a resident of Coeur d'Alene. I moved here over a year ago. I came in support of P&W saunas for the park permits for operating a business over the winter. I often ride the Centennial Trail and the Riverfront Path and have seen the sauna, and then have finally built up the courage to go to the sauna for the first time and met people in the community, and really have experienced some of the best community I have had here in Coeur d'Alene in the year that I've been here. Chatting with people outside the sauna, knowing that you're there, working on your health, and having a great opportunity to enjoy the riverfront, and at the same time support a local business and meet people that live in the neighborhood. It's a meaningful thing to be able to very easily walk over to the sauna or ride my bike there and be able to be surrounded in the community and have others join me that I know or can meet there. It's been impactful for stress reduction and for my overall health. My family are avid sauners. My mom will tell you it prevents Alzheimer's, and it's very important for everybody's longevity. So it not only is a great business that we're supporting there, but it can really help everybody in life. So I guess I just wanted to say that allowing the park permits to operate for the winter time would significantly help the community and the people that have been attending the saunas there at P&W at the park. So whether it's that business or another business that needs to operate in the winter, I would think that the council and the city wouldn't want to prevent small businesses from their winter opportunities, seeing as we all need to make money year round. So really came to make sure that that's heard and let you know that it is a great benefit to the community as it is, and without it being there, it is missed at this time.
Thank you, Denise.
See, Mr. Mayor?
Lauren Stone, can we do this when we get done? You'll have
When we're
a
done,
moment.
okay.
Thank you. Lauren? Welcome.
Hello. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Lauren Stone. I'm a resident of the Atlas Waterfront community. I am here today to speak in strong support of saving and permitting the community sauna at Atlas Waterfront Park, and I urge the council to add necessary ordinance revision to a future agenda for action. I want to share why the sauna is more than just a structure. It's a vital hub for community wellness. For me, the sauna has been a source of major trauma recovery. I'm a single mom with two very littles back there in the corner. And going anywhere as a single mom with two kids at your side 100% of the time is nothing short of an adventure. So the sauna has been a blessing for us. It's a place of quiet reflection and stress relief. But more importantly, has become an invaluable part of our family's routine. My kids and I have found it to be a unique space to connect with one another and with the natural beauty of the Spokane River. It teaches them about health, resilience, and the value of a shared experience outdoors, especially in the colder months. The Atlas Park Sauna has quickly cultivated a remarkable community. It's a place where neighbors meet, support one another, connect, regardless of age or background. The sense of communal wellness and connection is exactly the kind of vibrant public life our city should be encouraging. The current regulations that have put the future of this amenity in question do not seem to align with the positive community impact we have been witnessing all summer. What we have at Atlas Park is a unique, beneficial, and popular service that has been a significant positive addition to our public park system. Tonight, I'm asking you to recognize the immense value this sauna brings to our residents, especially during the dark winter months that are coming, and to take the critical next step. Please direct staff to prioritize and review a revision of the current ordinance to ensure this successful community asset can continue to operate as soon as possible. Let's not lose this unique space. Let's work together to make sure that the ordinance supports rather than hinders the growth of true community and wellness at Atlas Park. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I look forward to seeing this as a future agenda item.
Thank you, Lauren. Audrey Berg?
You just stand right here. You can just talk to them.
Hi, my name's Audrey, and I like the sauna because it helps me, and I get to go be in the water with my mom, and it's really helping me in the routine that we're doing. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hard to argue with that.
Rhonda Bowling. Rhonda? Rhonda Bowling? All right, moving on. Thank you for that. We'll work towards that. Council announcements. Christie.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just wanted to respond to the sauna question. I did get an opportunity to reach out to our Parks Director, and that particular sauna and that particular business it was signed a contract for that length of time, but he certainly didn't rule out on changes to next year. So the city, we haven't had any discussion, but we wouldn't be, I don't think, opposed to something more lengthier. But I would refer them to Mr. Tymeson and Mr. Greenwood for those details to work out. The second thing, Mr. Mayor, is I just want to take the opportunity to thank my fellow council. Many of you are running for election, and I think you've done a commendable job of just focusing on what your attributes are, and you're not getting into any kind of a fray back and forth. I think you've all been very good to each other. It's a difficult thing. These two are running against each other, but they've been very good to each other, and I just appreciate that when we're sitting here watching all of it. All of you have been wonderful.
Thank you. Kiki.
Can I make a comment on the sauna? Well, I'm going to make two. One is my heritage is Finnish, and it's actually pronounced sauna, just in case there's any Finlanders out there. But the second one is, I would like to see staff take a look at this, because I know we do have winter operations in other parks. So there might be a different avenue that we can take rather than that permit and allow that to occur. So I'd like to see what other options we have.
Mr. Kukin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, I will second and third that as well, and with expeditious speed, as I don't want to see someone put out of business, and it seems like they're not going to be able to do anything until they find a nice location. I assume it's mobile, and therefore it needs a mobile location, and I think we can be accommodating in an expeditious manner. Also wanted to say this, for those of you who aren't going to stay to the end of the show, we're going to be recessing to another meeting next Monday at noon here in the library. We're going to be talking about the Idaho Transportation Department's modification of the 95 overpass over I-90, which affects Apple Way. They'll be doing a presentation to us on that, which is really going to affect the entire community. So you'll probably hear about it again, but I wanted to let everyone know that's coming up next Monday. Thank you.
Dan?
Well, I would just, also on the sauna, it sounds like it's kind of a hot topic, but we do have other winter things. I mean, they're doing the ice skating thing, and so, yeah, and I guess if it's absolutely out of the question, well, yeah, for this, yeah, but yeah, I would like to see us definitely look at that, and yeah, we want to encourage those kind of opportunities, so, and yeah, good job on the election, folks, so hope somebody wins all of them, so.
Well, different people.
Yeah.
Good?
I'm good, yeah.
You're good? All right, moving on. Thank you, council. I have a couple of appointments to make, well, more than a couple. So, council, I would like to keep Catherine Hoyer on the Coeur d'Alene TV Committee. That's a reappointment. She represents the Panhandle Health District. Also, Bruce Hathaway is also on the TV Committee, a reappointment. He is representing telecom provider. The Library Board, Catherine Baker and Etta Cockkill as an alternative representative. Parks and Rec, Mason Tittergost as the rep, and Jennifer Pidowski as the alternative. Arts Commission, Noah Crabtree as the rep, and Allison Amar as the alternative. Ped Bike Committee, Alistair McKinnell as the representative and Natalie Prozac as the alternative. And last, Urban Forestry Committee, Gabriel Hines as the rep.
Mr. Mayor, so moved. You might have mispronounced a few names, but we get it. So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Gabriel?
Yes.
Gookin?
Yeah.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Moving on, consent calendar, council.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented, including resolution number 25-058.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Gookin?
Yeah.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Yes.
All right. This next one is our public hearing. If you plan on speaking here, make sure you're signed up for it, because we just kind of worked through the list. You'll have 3 minutes. It's approving amendment Exhibit E to the Coeur Terra Development Agreement, changing the area designated as cluster triplex to active adult senior living and multifamily units located within the plus or minus 23 acres south of Hanley Avenue and the School District 271 school site. It's requested by the Kootenai County Land Company, LLC. Does any council member have a conflict of interest that should be disclosed? Okay, sign-up sheet and staff report.
All right.
Sean,
Thank
from
you,
our
Mayor.
planning department, thank you.
City Council. So tonight before you, you have a request from Kootenai County Land Company, LLC. The applicant is here as well as their team. It's for a site-specific development agreement amendment. So this is number 2, to change cluster triplex area to active adult senior living and multifamily place type. So it's a flexibility thing. So I wanted to also note, and the reason why this note is up here is there's a related application for a planned unit development in a subdivision that's scheduled for Planning Commission, which is up for review on November 12th. And so staff can definitely speak to the request tonight, but if we dive into like units and setbacks and things of that nature, I want you to realize you are the appellate body. So in case this does get appealed, you would hear that, so we don't want to quote-unquote poison the well and have you guys get a bunch of information early. So
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can you explain that again so that we know, I don't know what I'm not supposed to do.
right, so tonight the request is for Exhibit E. It's for what the buildings look like in the number of attached units within a small area. So this is part of a larger request. There's also a piece to the south that will be coming before Planning Commission on November 12th. And so because there is an opportunity for appeal, we don't want to poison the well by giving you so much information that you've made up your mind early before actually it coming before you if it gets appealed.
So this is just what we're going to discuss tonight?
Just Exhibit E.
All right.
And then the emergency item that you had put on. That is a question I had for our attorney. Is that a separate item, or is it all rolled into this request?
I would say it was a separate item because it's not a public hearing.
Okay, just wanted some clarification. All right, so this property is commonly known as Coeur Terra. Property is south of Hanley Avenue in the School District 271 school site on the northeast corner of the property. There was no legal noticing that was required. However, staff did publish the request in the Coeur d'Alene Press, and the applicant posted the area on 10/14. So this is the original Exhibit E. As you can see, this is the 23 acres. Get my little pointer to pop up here. So this is what the request is for tonight. originally in Exhibit E, and this is the only thing that was requested to be changed. The rest of the development agreement is in full force and effect. So the current designation is cluster triplex. And so when this was annexed, and I'll get into a little bit of history here in a second, the applicant had defined place types throughout the area, and this area was cluster triplex, which does fall under our current code as multifamily. However, because they called it a triplex, they had limited themselves to the number of attached units. And so this request would give them the flexibility to have more units attached in a structure. All right, so this is the amended Exhibit E. I cannot see there we go, the mouse. So this area right here, which is requested as senior living and then multifamily. So a little background in history is the Coeur project is a 438-acre planned community. It was annexed into the city of Coeur d'Alene on March 21st, 2023. And then Exhibit E specified the cluster triplex, as we were discussing, for this 23-acre area now proposed for multifamily development. Following that annexation, Kootenai County Land Company applied for a 4-lot short plat. It was called Full Circle Tracts, located on the north end of the project. It divided that property into the city's water tower. It was about a half an acre. Another for a future school site, which was 20 acres, a commercially zoned property that has been sold to a religious entity. That's almost 11 acres. And then the remaining parcel, which is the northwest section that wraps around these other properties and was also subject to a request for a zone change. That fell under Amendment 1, which was a multi-part request that adjusted the wastewater utility timeline, rezoned a well site from C17L to R3, and then flopped to C17L where the viable site now is, and returned the old well site that didn't work out to R3. That request also was part of the zone change I was just speaking to, which denied an R17 to C17 request, and also denied allowing the underlying zoning to govern development for the full site, which is why we're here tonight in part. All right, so as far as the comprehensive plan goes, the subject property is up here highlighted. It falls within the urban neighborhood. And urban neighborhood place types are highly walkable neighborhoods with larger multifamily building types, shared green spaces and parking areas. They're typically served with gridded street patterns, and for larger developments may have internal circulation system. A development typically consists of townhomes, condominiums, and apartments with convenient access to goods, services, and dining for nearby residents. Supporting uses include neighborhood parks and recreation facilities, parking, office, and commercial development. Compatible zoning in the comp plan is listed as R17, which is the current zoning. That is the zoning map right there. R34, which is a residential at 34 units by a special use permit, neighborhood commercial, community commercial, C17 and C17L. So this is the zoning map. The full circle tracks that I was speaking about on the north end, this is the school site, this is the religious assembly, the remainder piece that wraps around this and comes up to where a future trail will be. All right, give me a second here, catch up with myself. So as part of a change to a development agreement, there needs to be approval of the justification. The community planning director must determine if the amendment meets specific criteria, including that circumstances have substantially changed so that the amendment of the terms of the development agreement is needed to further the goals and purposes of the city and is in the public interest. And so per the applicant's request letter, I can read this, they'll go into further detail, I'll just read the bullet points. The amendment retains the originally approved multifamily residential use, but seeks to revise the permitted building types from cluster triplex buildings to a combination of adult senior living and traditional 3-story walk-up apartment buildings as depicted in the amended conceptual master plan. And so the justification, the bullet points I was just talking about, and the public good is diverse housing mix, adaptability to market needs, support for the comprehensive plan goals, low impacts and compatibility, public benefit and community enhancement, forward-thinking approach, and economic and social value. So with that, I will conclude my staff report. City Council will need to consider this request to amend Exhibit E, which would change a site-specific place type from cluster triplex to active adult senior living and multifamily, and approve with modifications, or deny. With that, I'll end my staff report. Stand for questions.
Questions? Mr. Kukin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sean, does this change the density of the number of units in this area?
It does not. So the underlying zoning is R17, so that's 17 units per gross acre. So that would be the maximum that would be allowed. The annexation and development agreement further limits the ability of the developer to a number 2,800 ERUs, which are equivalent residential units for the entire site. Mm-hmm. So that's an overarching limitation that's currently in play. And so that underlying zoning determines what density would be allowed until they run out of those ERUs.
Thank you. And this is a development agreement. We haven't done a lot of those up here.
No, we haven't.
How binding is that this must be senior housing? Is that like must be senior housing, or is that just a proposal that can alter later?
That's a good question. I did reach out to the applicant and ask them that question because there are specific advantages to having a 62-plus aged development where in city code would allow for a huge reduction in parking. They are not proposing that, so they would provide the parking as would be required by any multifamily. Okay. So it would really be up to council if you decide to definitely make it an active adult senior living site for that portion, to modify it to make it that way, if that's how you want it.
But that's not part of that's not binding on the applicant. It's just what's being proposed.
It's what's being proposed. It would become part of Exhibit E, but it would be binding if it does become part of Exhibit E.
Okay.
So city code in and of itself has a multifamily definition, which is 3 units attached or more, which is how the code looks at it. But the development agreement sits on top of that, and Exhibit E would limit it to that.
Okay, well, I assume the applicant will have more information on that as well. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great question, and I hope the applicant will set our minds at ease. In our packet, which it's a lengthy packet, so the public doesn't have access, or you do, but you probably haven't read all of it. Sean, if you would just briefly go over, you did reach out to all the affected departments, and just briefly, comments from the affected departments in the city.
Sure, good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me get there. Okay, so department comments. The fire department, that they're listed first, expects to have a similar call volume from the proposed change of triplex to multifamily and does not find anything concerning with the overall change to the structure type. The Parks Department had no issue with the proposed change. Planning, it's pretty lengthy, but basically what it does is it changes the structure type, but the existing R17 zoning limits the density to that underlying zone. It also provides for an affordable housing element at 5% after the first 30 market rate units. The police department, with respect to the requested change from cluster triplex to active adult senior living and multifamily, the police department does not see any substantial change in traffic usage and no significant change in estimated calls for service between the two types, and does not have an objection to this change. Streets and Engineering said with the required traffic impact analysis and concurrency analysis, Traffic impacts will be analyzed and mitigation measures will be identified throughout the development. A change to structure type will not impact traffic. Wastewater said the applicant's request to change structure type does not create any issues for wastewater at this time, and water said that water has no issues to the proposed changes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have a question for you. So when we look at this map, it's got all these little buildings. So we aren't going to increase the amount of buildings, they're changing the actual use of it. Is that the way I'm seeing this?
So the number of buildings would change. It would be reduced because right now it would be triplexes. And so you'd have a bunch of triplexes dotted onto the map, and meeting city code for density and connectivity. But it is a change to that structure type. So you would get a bigger building with more units in it, but the same density.
So when you talk about adult senior living, this isn't, and I don't mean it derogatory, an old folks home where people live and they take care of them and the people come and visit them.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And this is not assisted care.
Assisted.
So assisted care is where you would have like group dining, you would have staff there to administer medicine and those types of things. This is not that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Okay, next up we have the primary opponent. Welcome, you guys.
No,
Primary applicant, sorry.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Melissa Wells, and I'm the president of the Kootenai County Land Company. I'm here tonight with our team's 2 civil engineers. We have Gabe Gallinger, Mike Leeming, and we also have 2 of our building and development partners, John Fisher and Bobby Everson from the Inland Group. As Sean mentioned, we're here this evening to discuss a map amendment for our Coeur project. Based on the feedback from our last meeting when we were in front of you, our request tonight is straightforward and very limited in scope. It applies to roughly 20-acre portion of the property where we're asking to change the building types in this specific area. And that's the entirety of our request for you tonight. All of our other commitments within the development agreement remain unchanged. Again, for some background, as part of our agreement with the city, we have committed to a maximum of 2,800 residential units across the entire site, and that is a self-imposed cap that's roughly half of what the underlying density of the zoning would normally allow. The agreement includes Exhibit E, which is the conceptual master plan map, and that serves as the guiding framework for the future development of the property. To date, we have fully met all of our initial obligations under the agreement, which includes we've made a $2 million payment of annexation fees. We've donated land for the existing tank site. We've facilitated a zone change to move the well site to meet the city's needs. And we've also agreed to the city's requested scope change for the Hawks Nest lift station improvements. So up here on the slide, we, as included in your packet, show the Exhibit E, the generally adhered to design of our conceptual master plan. We've talked about this before, but it's a concept document. It's a vision rather than a fixed blueprint, and it simply illustrates one approach to development. We added a red dashed line around the roughly 20 acres that we would like to amend on Exhibit E. And we're asking to swap out the multifamily that we build in this location. An approval of this map amendment does not mean we're just approved to go build that new product type. It simply means that we can move forward with our development application, which of course will follow the city's process. So getting back to our specific request, the current map, as you can see up here, has the multifamily product type called a cluster triplex. A lot of people have asked, well, what exactly is a cluster triplex? So we put together a picture here for you. A cluster triplex is a multi-family building configuration consisting of 3 attached dwelling units, often vertically stacked. They're designed to fit within a clustered site layout that emphasizes shared open spaces, compact footprints, and efficient land use. Often, these triplexes are multi-level, usually up to 4 stories, commonly developed with living space above garages. Cluster triplexes can easily yield up to the 17 units an acre, as Sean mentioned earlier, and, in other locations, if zoning allows it, they can be set up to have even higher densities. But the key takeaways are that a cluster type triplex allows for the maximum density in this R17 zone, in this case using smaller multifamily buildings, typically 1 to 4 stories, often with residential units located above garage spaces. This is a very high-level conceptual illustration only. As you can see, it's hand-drawn. It's certainly not a final design or a site plan. So unit counts, building placements, dimensions, that's not what's intended here to be interpreted from this hand sketch. The purpose is simply just to show you a basic layout concept because many people are very unfamiliar with what a cluster triplex arrangement could look like. But a cluster triplex similar to this would be consistent with our master plan. So on the left, you'll see the cluster triplex concept that we just talked about, and on the right, we've included the layout of what we're proposing. And Gabe will point a little bit to the spaces, but rather than building all of the small multi-family triplex buildings that we were just talking about, we're proposing to build fewer, larger buildings, allowing for more open space. We're basically trading multifamily for multifamily with no change to the density. We're simply modifying the building types. As Sean mentioned in his staff report, wastewater, engineering, fire and police, and the water departments all reviewed this amendment and identified no concerns with our proposed amendment. A portion of the new proposal on the left side of it will include an age-restricted neighborhood. Senior housing has significantly lower traffic impacts in the community relative to a traditional multifamily project. And then the other portion of the project we're proposing is a more traditional 3-story walk-up apartment community with a nice complement of on-site amenities. And to talk about these a little further, I'm going to have one of our business partners, John Fisher, come up and show examples of these projects.
Threw my back out raking leaves, so. Good evening, council members and mayors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is John Fisher, and I'm with the Inland Group, and we're the developer behind providing some of the examples of the products here tonight that we built elsewhere in Washington and in Idaho. I think control the slide here, just click or
down arrow to advance slide.
Gotcha. So as Melissa mentioned, a portion of that is a more traditional multifamily arrangement with walk-up apartments. The difference being that you might see from other developments within Coeur d'Alene is the focus on amenities within our developments, both interior and exterior amenities and year-round amenities for residents to access and enjoy. Obviously on-site parking for all, and that includes garages, carports, and other surface parking options. And because of the Coeur development agreement, ample buffers between surrounding uses as well as connections to trails in the park system that would be built out within Coeur. I think most importantly, this advances the affordable housing requirement within Coeur by providing over 30 units that would meet that designation and be permanently affordable within the Coeur master plan. Next concept that is proposed within this development agreement is our active adult called Affinity. And Affinity represents a housing concept that fills a vital and growing need in our region, providing attainable, maintenance-free living options for active adults age 62 and older. Inland has built and continues to operate over 35 of these communities in the western United States. And the most recent example being Affinity at Marabou, which is next to the new Dave & Buster's in Spokane Valley. And And they are vibrant, amenity-rich communities that allow residents to downsize while staying connected to the local community that they know and love. As Coeur d'Alene and we've seen in other communities continue to grow, housing demand among older adults, many of whom are longtime residents, has outpaced supply. So with Affinity at Marabou, that project helped address that by offering attainable rents for individuals and couples who want to remain here but no longer wish to maintain a single-family home. And by right-sizing into an Affinity, these residents also help free up the existing housing stock for local families. But beyond housing, Affinity communities contribute meaningfully to the social fabric of a city. Residents continue to volunteer, shop locally, and bring steady economic activity to nearby businesses. So we wanted to share an example of what could be built in Coeur through this development agreement amendment, as this type of product can complement the broader Coeur vision, which is a mixed, connected, and inclusive community. And as we experience at Affinity at Marabou, there's additional benefits that purpose-built senior communities have, which is fewer traffic AM and PM trips, reduced noise as compared to traditional multifamily. So thank you for allowing me to share these examples of what could be done if this development agreement amendment would be passed here tonight. Also available for any questions.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, John. I just wanted to wrap up. Let me go to our last slide here. As you're aware, whenever you have an amendment, there's a few questions that were asked when evaluating these amendments, and the first being, is the amendment necessary and reasonable? And yes, the proposed development agreement, it reflects the current market realities, demographic shifts, and community housing needs that basically have evolved since we put together this original conceptual plan. It does not alter the approved zoning like we talked about, nor the density or infrastructure commitments under our annexation and development agreement. It simply modernizes the housing product within the same R17 land use designation. It's reasonable because the proposed design remains fully consistent with the intent of Exhibit E, and it actually produces less traffic, parking demand, and lower neighborhood impact than the cluster triplex shown on the original conceptual master plan. And then finally, is the amendment in the public interest? And again, the answer is yes. The proposed amendment, it remains consistent with the annexation agreement. It provides lower community impacts than the approved baseline, and it introduces age-restricted housing that supports the city's goals for housing diversity, traffic reduction, and quality of life. And so with that, I guess we open for questions.
Questions, Christie?
Yes.
Thank you. Melissa, just a comment. The last time you were before us, you were, not you personally, but the land group, were hoping for a little more flexibility, not bring everything back to us. But I hope what you will see tonight, that this is really just great communication, and all the neighbors that are here, they hear what your proposed plan is, and it puts a lot of fears at ease. This is a good process, and we're not going to torture you every time. I think it's a good thing to go through. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Question.
Mr. English.
So for timeline, if this is approved tonight, what, kind of when do you expect people would potentially see this? And if you change this segment of it, does it move it up or behind where it would have been otherwise? So just kind of timing, I know we're talking about it now, but, and we said it'd be way out in the future, but, it's closer now. So when might it be?
Sure. And Gabe, do you want to come up as well and speak to the application process and what the next step would be?
So if you recall, in our annexation development agreement, we had a phasing plan, and the phase one was the north end of the project. So we'd always intended on starting on the north end of the project, and we've been working on this area for some time now to get the development agreement to match the development plans that we want to propose. So I don't think it's going to move it up or back. It's still our intent to move forward with the north end first. We're also prepared to move concurrently with other portions of the development, which will have applications submitted in the future. We currently don't. So I think approving this amendment just keeps us on track with what we had proposed originally, with the north end of the project being in phase one.
So, and again, when might somebody see, something, plowing dirt or something?
So we have to go through the PUD process, which starts with a hearing with Planning and Zoning Commission, which Sean mentioned is scheduled for November 12th, I believe, if this amendment is approved. We go through that. We have to wait for a decision. If that, depending on how that process plays out, if we get approval at that point, we will then transition into design plans specific to the project and get those submitted through the city, get them reviewed, get approved design plans, and then we have to go through construction. Infrastructure construction would be first, get the roads, sewer, water utilities in place, and then that would be followed by site plan development applications for the proposed multifamily structures, and the PUD would have a subdivision with it for the surrounding single-family portion of the project that we move forward with in phase one of Coeur. So,
okay.
I'd say best case infrastructure could be completed by the end of next year, following building construction. What's the timeline on? About 18 months for building construction once infrastructure is in place to support it.
Okay.
Hey, Kenny?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Melissa, you did a great job of explaining why the change, and that was my question to begin with, is we're going through another change process here, but it's because you are looking at the changes in the housing market and the needs, correct?
Correct. That is correct.
And this, again, just so everybody knows, this does not change the density,
No change.
should not change traffic flows.
Maybe less, but yeah.
So, thanks. I know it's no
Yes.
fun to sit here in front of us, but thank you.
Yes.
Kiki?
I just had a couple things. Is the intent throughout this project, when this changes, to have the connectivity remain the same so you can come in and out of this? It's not just a walled-in.
Correct. The
community.
connectivity remains the same.
And then you have these new amenities that are involved, pictures, whether you do that or not, of clubhouse and pool. Is that specific to just this section, or would that be neighbors that could access that facility as well?
Yep.
I can speak to that. So John Fisher again with the Inland Group. So each community has their specific amenities designed for those residents that reside, so age restricted versus traditional multifamily. So those are exclusive to residents who live within those communities. However, with the beauty of Coeur that we like to see as a developer is that connectivity to the trail systems, the boulevards, and the public parks that are also part of the requirements within the development agreement. So those connections will be made with our communities, so our residents can access those, and folks from the surrounding community can walk through to access different areas of the Coeur development. But in terms of like a pool or a pickleball court, or I really like the sauna idea now, so maybe those would be just for residents who are residing there.
Okay.
Yep.
And then my last question, and you may have addressed this and it went by too quickly, is you talked about in the development agreement, there is this attainable housing cap that's already there. But it sounded a little bit like you were going to try to reach that number all within this particular unit.
No, I don't think that's the intention of.
Or the percentage?
Are you speaking to the affordable housing requirement?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the 5%.
yeah, so the proportionate amount of the affordable requirement per each of these proposed multifamilies. So I believe the total amount was 38 units, I believe, in total.
It's 5%.
5% of total units.
So, okay, maybe I'm not being clear with my question because I'm not hearing again. So what I'm trying to clear up is the development agreement required 5% for affordable housing of the 2,800 units. Are they all going to be in this particular
No.
change? Okay.
No, just 5% of that.
Just 5% of this total unit, Dennis?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
It'll
Not of the entire project?
Correct.
Got it.
And the development agreement was specific to require 5% of, for rent and
And
for
for sale.
sale independently, so we can't, it's not allowed to do
Right.
that.
Okay.
To
Right.
cluster it all into one product type.
Thank you.
Mr. Gookin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Melissa, it seems like, if I'm reading this correctly, that the arguments you put on this slide here, the one that we're looking at, less traffic, less parking demand, lower neighborhood impact, and then even in the next one, lower community impacts. It seems like all that's hinging upon the senior housing element. Am I correct?
When we discussed the less traffic, that would be attributable to, and yes, that is correct,
So is there
the
anything that
senior.
would prevent you from changing your mind down the road and not having the senior housing and just going back to the apartment complex for the entire area? Are you bound to do the senior housing in any document? I mean, do you have the latitude to change that?
Well, I think if this is approved, as Sean alluded to, it specifically calls out
Right,
senior
we're-
housing on the master plan
Right.
and Exhibit E, so that would be binding on
We
us.
we'll call it out,
For
we've
that
called it out specifically, so we would be
Yeah.
bound to that per this.
Okay, and that was my understanding. I did have a question for Sean, too, and it's because he's in the back of the room and it's going to take him a while to walk up here. So I'm just going to fill with, I'll tell you a joke that I heard the other day. No, I won't do it. Sean, so the question I have for you is more procedural. So they mentioned that they're going back for a PUD. Is that what's happening on the 12th?
Yes.
Okay.
And subdivision.
A PUD in the subdivision, and we are not privy to that information?
Correct.
Okay, but that's going to move forward, and that is, but these people can attend it, and they could appeal it if they wanted to, if it's not what they like. But my question for you is, at any point in this process, would there be a capability to back up and reduce the density of this area?
Of this area?
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking this is just to kind of predict what some of the feedback we're going to get from the public is, who do not like the density in Coeur. So my question to you is, what opportunities are there any opportunities at this stage of the game to reduce the density of this particular part or the entire thing as the process moves forward?
So one of two things would have to happen for that to change. It would have to come from the applicant, and they would make a request to change the zoning to like a lower density zone.
Okay.
Or that would have to come from council, and that usually is very, very rare that council would try and get a zone change.
Okay, so we would have to, in other words, we would have to force a zone change.
Yes, I don't know what that would do with the development agreement.
No. I'm trying to guess it's what some of the questions may be that are coming
That's
forward, and I just want to see what the city's answer would be before we get those questions, so that we don't ask them later, and just let people know where we are in the process. So right now, we're just talking about changing from the kind of all that cluster housing. I usually don't follow the word cluster with housing, but cluster housing to the senior housing apartments. And that's just really all we're talking about here.
That is.
Okay, want to make that clear. Thank you.
And just to clarify that, as I understood it, as far as what could be allowed for density, they're already cutting that in half? I mean, so it's at half the density already?
As a whole.
Yes, yeah.
As a whole, for taking the full 438 acres into account. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Other comments, questions, thoughts? Thanks, you guys. So this looks for a primary opponent, so.
Well, you open the public hearing and then just take testimony from
Okay.
the list that you have.
You betcha. All right. So I have all these folks signed up to speak in regards to this, what we're working on, this change. And you can come up and give your speak, and I will keep you going. And I've got two people that have mailed in. Kate Hall is against it, and Andrew Hall is against it. So from the top of the, I'm going to go to Russell Hanson first. Russell, you have 5 minutes. Sorry, Russ. I'm trying to figure out the timing here.
And the witness will need to be sworn in.
Oh, Joe? You're going to swear him in?
Please raise your right hand and respond by saying, "I affirm." Do you solemnly swear and or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay.
You have
Mayor-
5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor and council member, thanks for hearing me. Based off of what they presented tonight, I put on the sign-in sheet that I was against increased density, but what I would be against is increasing the density next to single-family dwellings that are already existing. Looks like what you're proposing is changing, or not even changing the density, but putting it next to the industrial park. I have no problem with that at all. But I would be against, in the future, asking for increased density next to single-family residents that are already existing in a neighborhood.
So you're in favor of this, what you just saw?
What I've seen
Okay.
tonight, assuming that's all above board, I got no problem with that at all.
All right, thank you, Russell.
Okay. What I do have issue with would be using the Indian Meadows and Woodside Park streets to access the neighborhood, definitely for construction purposes. The roads are very narrow, don't have sidewalks. We have people, residents, myself, walking in these streets. So I definitely don't want construction traffic going through the Indian Meadows neighborhood. And I live in, my name is Russell Hanson. I live at 4762 West Woodside Avenue. Woodside is at, it would be south of the Coeur development, between the freeway and the development. So I walk through that neighborhood all the time. Everybody does. So I definitely don't want to see construction traffic going through it. I really wouldn't be excited about the increased amount of cars going through the Indian Meadows neighborhood. Like I said, it's the streets are narrower. They're not the full width street with curbs and sidewalks. I don't know, I'm not an expert on asphalt or roadways. The Appaloosa specifically is having a hard time holding up to the residential traffic that's on it right now. We just had a breakup of the road on Appaloosa, and it took the city, I'll just be generous and say 6 months to get around to fixing that. Nothing against the city, but if it's breaking up with a low amount of residential traffic, it's definitely going to break up with an increased traffic. I wouldn't want to see Appaloosa or Arrowhead be an access route to the new neighborhood. My personal opinion is Nez Pierce would be the way to go. If you're familiar with it, you could take out the center divider between the eastbound and westbound lanes, and you could add additional lanes easily. I'm a little baffled why that's going to fall on the taxpayers down the road to increase the access. I would assume that would be a cost that the developers would take care of. I don't like my taxes to go to that. I'm sure other people don't as well. At one time, there was talk of routing traffic through Woodside Park, which is west of Indian Meadows. It's quite a steep jog in the road to get back into Woodside Park. I personally have had somebody run into me on that jog in the road. I've seen multiple wrecks there. It's just not a real good route to route traffic through. So I have a lot of heartburn about routing traffic through our neighborhood. Like I said, my personal choice would be Nez Pierce. It just seems to make a lot more sense. I was told that there's already an agreement in place that we're not going to run construction traffic through, and that we're supposed to call the police if we see construction traffic going through the Indian Meadows. I don't know how workable that is. By the time the cops show up, are they going to find out which cement truck drove through the neighborhood or not? I don't see that as a workable solution. It's already challenging to pull out onto Atlas Road at certain times of the day, throughout the day, with the amount of traffic coming down Atlas. Add a few thousand cars to that, it's going to be more challenging. Lord help you if you have to make a left-hand turn. I find myself periodically making right-hand turns and then driving through the Fairway Hills area, which isn't fair to the Fairway Hills people, but if you can't turn left, you can't turn left. There's no traffic control there. Anyway, that's about all I have that I think. So, thank you for listening.
Hey, Russell. So we do need to get through this Exhibit E, the first thing that we've kind of talked to, and Russell covered all that. But when we start getting into the roads and things, I think that's going to come back around, because that's where we have council wants to hear about that. So if we can get through this and move on, we won't be here till the cows come home.
Mr. Mayor, technical question on that. So are you going to have public comment come back up on that agenda item?
When we get to Mr. Gookin's
Okay.
thing, let's see what happens.
And, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, but that would be public comment, not testimony.
Okay.
We can do that.
All right, Patty Hatfield is opposed and does not wish to testify. Will Cushman is opposed and does want to testify. Will? Welcome, Will.
Thank you, Mayor. Council. As I stated, part of their discussion relies on Washington, structures that they've built in Washington.
Need to be sworn in, sorry. And
I'm sorry.
Swear in everybody at one time. Just swear in everybody at one time.
That's a good one. We're going to just do a group swear, so to speak. Keep it positive. So if you can all raise your hand, and Joe, if you will lead that, we can kind of pick up.
Please
the
raise
pace.
your right hand and respond by saying, "I affirm." Do you solemnly swear in or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So they stated structures that they have built in Washington. I would like to remind everybody that we do not live in Washington. We live in the great state of Idaho. And last time I checked, within Coeur d'Alene, we had a height restriction of 3 stories that the city granted to some of these high-rise structures in downtown to go taller than 3 stories. And they were discussing building 4 stories or more. I disagree with that. That sounds like that goes against the city codes in any way, shape, or form. I would not grant this in any way, shape, or form. They're going against what they originally agreed upon. I would vote this down and tell them that they need to stick with their original plan, or they have to pay for a lot of infrastructure to be reconstructed. Wastewater, I just read an article about wastewaters having problems with their infrastructure that needs to be upgraded and replaced in order to accommodate Coeur. Therefore, unless they're going to foot the bill for it, I don't see where us as taxpayers are being demanded that we pay for that. I just disagree with that. And they say that they donated land to the city for well sites, which is great, fine, and wonderful, but why not donate the land for the fire department, donate the land for the schools, but instead of making the schools pay for it, instead of making the fire department pay for it. We don't need another Riverstone. We don't. We saw how Riverstone failed when the developer built all those condominiums and went bankrupt, and they sold those condos at auction for a third the price of what they were trying to originally sell them for. I just disagree with trying to build another Riverstone in such a beautiful part of town and against an adjacent neighborhood that is not high-density housing. And I know that council has spoken about Coeur d'Alene Place. When that was developed, the difference is it was not around an adjacent community, an adjacent residential area that was already developed. I just disagree. I think it's going to add way too much traffic, and I vote it down. Thank you for hearing me.
Thanks, Will. And let's see, next up, I have Tom Burke, who is in opposition and would like to testify. Tom, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name's Tom Berube. I live on the corner of Sherwood and Arrowhead, so you understand where I'm coming from on traffic. First of all, I'm not against growth, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, and this is definitely the wrong way. I want to point out that Kootenai County Land Company has taken advantage of this council since day one. Ever since the comp plan changed, this council has been saying yes to almost every developer. And that served its purpose. But after tonight's vote, they need a council that will say no. Why? Because saying yes to every developer is bad for their business model. It's basic supply and demand. 2, the council did not require the Kootenai County Land Company or other developers to pay for the impacts that they cause to our infrastructure, which the gentleman just explained. So these are going to have to come in form of new taxes. And which leads to number 3. This council has raised property taxes year over year. That scares away new buyers. And we're not even talking about the new taxes for the fire station, more police vehicles for the 15 officers, the snow plow, the school buildings and classrooms, etc. All of this impacts their growth margins. To protect their investment, they need changes in the city government, and so do we citizens. Why do you think they're bringing this up right before an election? Something to think about. But that's not why I'm here. 2 years ago on February 7th, after much debate, the Kootenai County Land Company agreed that they would not connect their project to the Indian Meadows neighborhood at Appaloosa, Arrowhead, and Nez Perce. The council could have voted that night, but you didn't, and 2 weeks later, they changed their process back and back to the original plan, and the yes squad approved it. Mr. Mayor, you stated that residents should have known the way the road was ended, that it would be one day continued. But none of us think that. The road was paved until there was private property on the left, on the right, and in front, and they stopped. Why, Mr. Mayor, why would you assume that a private farm would be sold at some future date and paved over with high-density housing? Mr. Mayor, is that your vision for all of Coeur, to pave over all the farmland? Is that your re-election motto, pave, baby, pave? During the February 23 meetings, my neighbors and I told you the concerns we have connecting our neighborhoods and how much the sheer volume of traffic would put our children and grandchildren in danger. And your response, and I will quote, "Well, too bad." Mr. Mayor, your compassion for the citizens of our town, especially the young ones, is truly touching. But there is a way this council can soften how your and their legacy will be remembered. Tonight, the council can pass an ordinance that will ensure that Appaloosa, Arrowhead, and Nez Perce will never be extended or connected to any pedestrian, bicycle, or motor vehicle traffic into Coeur or any other development. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Rob Knutson would like to testify. Welcome, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. In light of your comments or your request to keep things brief, I had about 4 points, but I will trim it to 1 if I get to come back and talk in the future. I think the current rezoning is likely, based on what we've heard, not to be considered to have a significant impact or change on the density. But my biggest concern comes with what I think this represents. This is change number 2 to the development agreement, and what comes next will be change number 3. But my concern with these ongoing future proceedings that will have a tendency to kind of piecemeal this project together in a fashion that might result in some unintended increases or changes such that the final project might not look like what was approved 3 years ago when we were here in this room. So I just want to point that out, and I don't want to use traffic as an example. I know people hate talking about it, but it actually impacts people's lives. And when it comes to our neighborhood in Indian Meadows, I forgot to say where I live, that's a pretty big concern, because it's going to push people off the streets. So my plea is, just please continue to look out for the best interests of everybody. Again, nobody's going to be able to fight development. Nobody wants less housing. That stuff needs to occur, and it will occur by right. But I just ask you to continue to demonstrate your capability of planning. I think, and I'm going to use one traffic example, please forgive me, but I think if we all see ourselves as very analytical, capable, planning types of people, and I do that myself. I like to think that I'm a very thoughtful person. But I think looking at, half-mile backup of traffic down Atlas up to Kathleen, if we thought about that, 10 years ago, that probably wouldn't be happening now. So just encourage the council to be forward-thinking, and I understand you guys have a very challenging role to balance the wants and needs of the community, but ultimately I'm neutral, but I'm going to be cautiously neutral. How about that? Thank you for letting me speak. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Next was Leanne Aaron, is in opposition and does not wish to speak. Rhonda Bowling is in opposition and doesn't know if she wants to speak. Rhonda? Okay. Thank you. Joshua Trapp is in favor and no comment. Beverly Gannett is in opposition. Doesn't look like she wants to speak. Come on up. Right up here. Yep. It's okay.
Actually, Woody. Okay, Mayor and Council, thank you for letting me speak. My name is Beverly Gannett. I live at 4777 West Woodside, close to Russ over there.
So I think the roads are going to come up next,
But that's what I was, okay, so I don't say anything now?
unless you want to talk about Exhibit E.
Exhibit E, is that over there? No, actually, I would love this not to be happening, but since it is happening, I guess we're stuck with it. But I only want to talk about the roads.
Okay, yeah, we're going to address that. I'm sorry, I misunderstood
That's
that.
okay.
Lovely. Joanne Curtis would like to testify. Come on down, Joanne.
Hi, I'm Joanne Curtis, and I live in Indian Meadows. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing us to speak today. My major concern is traffic. When we bought our home, our house is right up against the field, which will be Coeur. And when we bought it 14 years ago, we knew that someday it would be a sea of rooftops, and we were hoping it would be later rather than sooner, but obviously that day is coming. Traffic will alter our neighborhood more than anything else, I think. Right now, it's very quiet. The only cars you see are from people who live there or are visiting. There's no through traffic. And I would just like to encourage you to always be aware of developing as many plans as possible to mitigate the traffic that might impact our neighborhood. And as other people have commented, Atlas cannot handle the traffic that it has now. I have sat at the Kathleen intersection during 4 light cycles during sometimes a day, which is really unacceptable. As I reflect on this process over the last couple of years, my expectation of planning and zoning, the city council, the mayor, is to stand up for us when our neighborhoods are impacted by developers. And to help us minimize that impact. Developers have all the resources. They have a lot more power than we do, so we depend upon you, the city council, to help us with some of those issues. And some concessions have been made, and that's very appreciated. But I would just like to encourage you to continue monitoring the project, monitoring the process, and making sure that the neighborhoods aren't left behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Well, I have Bobby Exern is on the list, but nothing's checked, so maybe we'll come back to you, Bobby. John Fisher does not want to testify. Suzanne Knutson is in opposition and wants to testify. Suzanne, welcome.
Hello, Mayor and council members, and community members too. I'll keep this brief because I definitely want to come back and talk about the roads. And I want to thank Councilman Gookin for an opportunity to speak to that tonight. As previously, public hearings were the only, and public comment, which that doesn't really matter. That's how we see it anyway. This is our only opportunity to share concerns about things that are going on and that will affect our neighborhood. I remember that those two public hearings that involved the discussions about the building that was going to go on in Coeur, and I remember that there were a couple of council members who were kind of excited about the triplex idea because it's different than the apartment buildings that are going up all over the place, especially on Celtice right now, and or that have already been built on Celtice, actually, and also up on Hanley. But triplexes were different, and I know that there's a combination of the rentals versus the owned homes that are going into Coeur, but anytime you can increase the opportunity for people to own their homes is going to better our community because of pride of ownership and because of equity. And I think that's important. And I know that the triplexes don't offer that. A triplex is an investment opportunity for an outside investor unless someone can afford to buy the entire triplex. I don't know, I didn't hear this spoken to tonight, whether or not the senior living is going to be more rentals, or is that going to be available for purchase by the people who might be selling their home, downsizing, and moving into a 62-plus community. I don't know about that. So I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be enough parking the way that this has been set up and that what we've seen tonight. I'm not sure. I don't know if everything that we saw in the presentation was accurate because I don't know a ton about it, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to work. I don't know. I think that there might be a little bit more that we could ask. I think there are a few more details that we could look at. I think they did a nice presentation, but I'm not super confident about it. So thank you. I look forward to talking to you again about traffic.
Thanks, Susan. Chris Hosak is in opposition and does not want to speak. Pat Ratano is in opposition and hasn't made up their mind yet. Keith Wells is in favor. Doesn't look like they want to speak. Madeline Knutson in opposition and would not want to speak. Pam Holcomb is in opposition and does not want to speak. David Kuntz doesn't want to speak and doesn't want to talk about it. Nancy Barr is here. So that's all I have. Is there anybody else that wants to talk about this particular item? Okay. So with that, I'm going to close the hearing. And council action.
No, you allow the applicant to come up and address any issues.
Okay. How come I'm not reading this? Okay. Applicant, summation.
Anything?
Or to respond to any of the concerns.
I don't think we necessarily have anything to add. It sounds like the majority of the people didn't really have any concerns about the specific project that we're doing. It seems like most of the comment was about the connections, which we'll discuss later.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I have one. So Ms. Knutson asked about the senior living. Are those rentals or is that for sale?
They are rentals.
Can you say that into the mic, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah, John Fisher again with the Inland Group. It is a rental community.
Thank you.
Okay, questions, council? All right. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing side and give you guys a run at it.
Mr. Mayor.
Christie.
Thank you. Well, in looking at this specific project is what we're here to do tonight. And many of you have been here for the last 2-3 years through numerous hearings and discussion. Even before it came before us, you were showing up as a neighborhood under public comment. So we understood what your concerns were. At the time, I really focused on the road connectivity, and so I voted against the project. But I didn't want that to reflect on the developers who have, anyone can see, they have made concessions. So with that said, again, we made sure they had to come before us on every change, and we've sat through a process, which I think has been a fair process. We can't go back and unwind everything. We just don't have the ability. I don't have that authority and can't make that happen. So they are going to move forward, they are going to do some projects, and so we have to try to work with them to get the best project we can. And clearly, the one they're proposing tonight is better than what was proposed before. It's less traffic, quieter, less impact. We're going to have more discussion on the overall project and the connectivity again. But for this specific item E, I think they've done their due diligence on bringing it before all of us, and there's really not a lot. For me, it's not a bad project. I'm not going to oppose the changes to this development agreement. I do listen to Mr. Knutson when he says they're coming back with these changes. Well, maybe. This is a 20-year project, and he's right. It is our job to be involved every single time and ask the questions that you want us to ask. We're not all going to land in the same place. We're just going to do our due diligence and hope we come somewhere where we can all live with what's coming forward. So my impression is that this specific request is fine to move forward with.
Kenny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Christie, I agree with you. Mr. Knutson's point of the number of changes, that is something that will concern me down the road because it's going to bother you as well. So that's something I want to keep an eye on, and for Mrs. Curtis, keep an eye on it. We will, and we are. And we're working, our staff is doing a great job with it, and we're here right now, and we are trying to do our best to keep an eye on it. So I just appreciate so much all of you being here and giving us your opinions and your thoughts, and that's super important to us, so thank you.
Other comments? Questions? So I'll look for a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 25-059, approving amended Exhibit E to the annexation and development agreement with Kootenai Land Company et al. Regarding modification within the plus/minus 23 acre south acre of Hanley Avenue and the School District 271 school site.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. Mr. Gookin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I like what you're proposing because you're keeping the density, but you're adding green space, which is what I'm after. But here's why I'm voting no. Because we're making a decision up here in the dark. And I don't like making decisions in the dark. The PUD is coming forward, which means there's more to come. And we don't know what that is. Will mentioned height restrictions. If the heights are going to be different, It's going to happen in the PUD. Other concerns that you've had will probably happen in the PUD, and we have no idea what those are. Now, we may learn what they are if someone appeals the PUD, but otherwise, council is not part of the PUD process. And a lot of the stuff that people don't like that goes on in the city with development is because a PUD happens, and we have no part in that. So I cannot make a decision in the dark. I think you guys have done a great job, but I don't have all the information, and so I can't vote yes. Sorry.
Other comments?
Can I just follow up on that? Because it's a little unclear if they are looking at changing a housing type so that they can propose that in the PUD, how could you flip them the other way around?
I don't understand your question.
They're looking for a change in the development agreement as to what they proposed so that they can go get a PUD with the plan that has changed. So how could they get the PUD saying, well, this is what we want to do? And then they'd go through the whole PUD process, but then the development agreement could be denied, so the PUD would be a moot point.
I don't understand still. My point is that while we're changing part of a development agreement, which is a 30,000-foot view, there's details that will be coming forth in a PUD. And PUDs are where they do things like change setbacks and change height restrictions, change parking requirements, and other things that I know people are concerned about. And they blame us. Unless it's appealed, a PUD does not come to us. We have no clue what's going to happen. And so I can't in good conscience, I mean, even though I like what they've done, I like that it's increased the green space. Love that. Great job. But I cannot move forward until I know what's in the PUD, and I don't know what's in the PUD. So I can't promise the concerned citizens out there that I'm doing the right thing.
Any other comments? Do a roll call, please.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel,
Yes.
Gookin.
No.
All right. Well, we'd usually go to a recess, but now we're going to listen to Mr. Gookin's idea on...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what I would like to hear is, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I was going to try and field questions and call up people as necessary. Hillary saved my bacon. She printed off the annexation and development agreement. So I do have a couple of answers to the questions that came up.
On the thing we just voted on?
Go ahead and do your thing, and I'll be here to hopefully help as much as possible.
So what I would like to do, since we added this to the agenda, thank you, council, is discuss whether council would like staff to work with the developer to change the ingress from Appaloosa to Nez Perce. And I don't really know right now because things may have changed, but Sean, what are the current access points through the neighborhoods to the east below Industrial Park?
Very good question. Give me just a second to get there. So this is found under 4.3 of the annexation and development agreement. So this is called street connections to existing subdivisions. Currently, the following streets through the subdivisions to the east and south of the property dead end at the eastern property boundary: West Appaloosa, Arrowhead, Nez Perce, Laurel, West Woodside, Wedgewood Loops, and Spires. The owners agree that only Nez Perce and Appaloosa Road shall be allowed to connect to the property with the residential subdivisions to the east and south. These two connections are necessary for public safety reasons. The owners, in consultation with the city, shall design and construct the connections with traffic calming features to discourage speeding and to the greatest extent reasonably possible through traffic, and to ensure designs that encourage traffic originating in Coeur to exit onto West Hanley Avenue and North Hutter Road instead of to the east. Bollards and lock gates will not be acceptable methods of discouraging through traffic. The remaining streets shall permanently terminate at the property's eastern and southern boundaries, but pedestrian and bicycle access shall be provided at the terminuses of these streets.
Okay, so I guess the direction here would be to just eliminate Appaloosa, but I think would also benefit us to hear what the public has to say because they live in the neighborhood and they're the ones who would like to be heard. So don't really know how we want to proceed, Mr. Mayor, if you want to hear from public comment again, or you want to hear from council. I mean, it's up to you.
I'd say let's listen to the folks. We'll do 3 minutes, you guys. We'll take your name when you get up. We'll keep a list and keep score and just go from there. That way everybody can speak. If you haven't signed up, at least you get your 3 minutes of a moment. Okay? So can you fight amongst yourselves who's going to go first? Beverly, since you started earlier, why don't you come up, okay?
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Beverly Gannett. I live at 4777 West Woodside Avenue, and it's right behind Appaloosa. And now, I have a problem with Appaloosa being the entrance road because it's not a collector road, it's only a rural road, and it doesn't have sidewalks. In order to do that, you're going to have to take some people's property that are on Appaloosa Road. That's a huge process. And then that's going to cost the taxpayers of Coeur d'Alene a lot of money. I assume some of it will come from the developer, but that's a long process, and I have the feeling that we taxpayers will wind up footing that bill. And that's going to be a substantial amount of money. And then I would also ask that, the developers and you all find an alternative method of coming through to Atlas. I understand everybody has to go to Atlas, but I would rather have a different road doing that. I hate to throw that on to Nez Perce people and Arrowhead people, but somebody's going to have to bear that burden, and I don't want it to be us. Thank you.
Thanks, Beverly. I should be able to remember your name, but...
Russ Hansen.
Oh, Russ.
4762 West Woodside Avenue. As I said before, I'm pro Nez Perce as the main entrance into that side. I'm definitely against Appaloosa. Doesn't sound like Arrowhead's being proposed. Appaloosa, to widen it or adding sidewalks into it would be a major expense. I don't know if you're familiar with Appaloosa, but the road or the land sloughs off on both sides. So there's nowhere to put a sidewalk short of seizing property from the neighbors and filling the ground to leave a ledge to put a sidewalk in. Nez Perce is basically flat, wider, take out the center divider, put more lanes in, put a turn lane in. It's just a logical choice. Appaloosa baffles me. Nez Perce makes sense to me. I haven't heard any comment on it, but I was told that city fire and police say they don't need to have access through Appaloosa or the Woodside Park neighborhood. That they were talking about I forget what you call it, a substation, might be a good option. I'm not an expert on that, obviously, but like I said, when I heard about Appaloosa being considered and then jogging back through Woodside Park, it's just very baffling. If the people on Appaloosa are having a graduation party, a birthday party, there's not room for them to park, so they park sticking out into the street. It becomes a one-lane road. So if somebody has a landscaper working at their house, lawn care service, hopefully don't have another wind episode where you got the tree services coming out, removing trees, it becomes a one-lane road, which is fine for our neighborhood and the limited traffic that we have in the neighborhood. You can wait for somebody opposing traffic to come by and you can go around the obstruction. Slap 3,000 cars into the mix and it's no longer easy to wait to go around an obstruction unless you're going to tell people they can't have birthday parties and park on the edge of the road. So, again, Nez Pierce, I'm there with you.
Thanks, Russ. Anybody else? Come on up.
Pam Holcomb, hi.
Hi, Pam.
Hey, I live on Nez Pierce, so I'm horrified by this. I've lived there for 33 years, and that median and those big pine trees are spectacular. And if you take that away, it's just like Joni Mitchell says, you know, you're just cutting down the trees and you know, on a personal note, that you have to have sidewalks. There's no sidewalks. Everything you said about Appaloosa is the same for Nez Pierce. All the neighborhood parties, they park on the main street too. I feel like I've been thrown under a bus here tonight. I thought we could at least do it equally for this road stuff.
Thanks, Pam. We'll get through this.
I'm Nancy Barr, and I live on Arrowhead. And that's not a good street to run through anyway, and they already decided that they wouldn't put it through, and hooray. There are no sidewalks, it's a walking neighborhood. I walk my dog throughout the whole neighborhood, including Nez Pierce and Appaloosa. And if we have more traffic in there, it is unsafe for us to be on the roads in that community. My suggestion would be to run it all through Hanley and off of Hutter Road. Thank you.
Thanks, Nance.
Tom Berube. Remember I said there's the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it? The problem with just taking out Appaloosa and Arrowhead and going through Nez Pierce is traffic flows like water. It'll go the path of least resistance and fill the volume of the container it's in. So just having Nez Pierce or Appaloosa, once it backs up on Atlas, they're going to start cutting down Sherwood and everywhere else. And so any of the three connectors, it's not going to solve anything. It's just going to have more cars driving through. I mean, how do you take 3 2-lane roads and dump them into one 1-lane road and expect it to work? That's just crazy. So anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Hi, Suzanne Knutson, 4208 West Appaloosa Road. I'm going to echo Tom on that. I don't think that any of the streets in Indian Meadows should be used because of cut-through traffic. I know that Fairway gets used a lot for that already, over to Kathleen and then also to Appleway. And I would just like to know what happened to industrial. We were told at a later, I don't know if it was a hearing or if it was just a city council meeting or if it was a PUD or whatever at this point. It was one of these meetings where we heard of a change, and we heard that industrial was now an option to open, and I didn't hear that mentioned tonight when Sean was listing off roads. Also, what is the process if there's a change request for the development and annexation agreement to change this? I know, Dan, you asked tonight for an amendment to the agenda to be able to discuss it. But what is I know that you said to direct the staff to talk to the developer, but that does not give us a seat at the table. And this is our only opportunity. We've never even been invited. We weren't even allowed to speak at the second public hearing after Kootenai Land Company made changes because the previous mayor didn't allow it. And we still think that was illegal. But we haven't been able to find a lawyer to help us with that. But it's sad that this is our only time to share an opportunity, to have an opportunity to share concerns with no seat at the table for the people who are going to be most affected with our rural neighborhood roads becoming super crowded with this development. There's no consideration being made to these neighborhoods. And if you allow Kootenai Land Company to move traffic through our rural neighborhood roads rather than Hanley, Industrial Way, and Celtice, you're creating a bigger and more expensive problem while stealing from residents. Our safety will be stolen, our quality of life will be taken with increased noise and decreased air quality through auto emissions, and our home values will decrease, and our taxes will increase because our roads will need heavier maintenance, possible road widening, drainage fixes, right-of-way impacts, and that will be costly and most likely require the taking of our private property. Increased traffic will depress marketability and desirability of homes in what now are quiet neighborhoods. On October 7th, a resident of Linden brought a speeding traffic issue and a need for traffic calming to the attention of the city and council. This year, several residents have presented traffic calming needs and requests for traffic enforcement to the council. But you have the opportunity to remedy another traffic enforcement nightmare now, by denying access through Indian Meadows. This is not a police issue, it's a planning issue. Coeur d'Alene has a traffic calming policy that was voted on and accepted unanimously in March of 2020. The city engineer Bosley is quoted in the CDA press as stating that the goal to reduce speeding on residential streets begins first and foremost with a plan. The problem is, the way the city currently has it set up is that you have to wait for the impact of no plan to determine the need for a plan before you develop a plan. But the plan never cures the problem. It only calms it. How about we go to the root cause and fix it here? Allowing Indian Meadows rural roads to be used for cut-through traffic is tearing down our neighborhood in the process. If Appaloosa and Nez Perce are used for through traffic, Indian Meadows will no longer be a bike-friendly or walk-friendly community. Or do those distinctions, along with Tree City, USA, only apply south of Ironwood? Tonight, residents of Indian Meadows are asking you to deny access to our rural roads that were not designed to be collectors. Thanks.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Will Cushman, resident of Indian Meadows. Just to add traffic to these roads in Indian Meadows, I hope that you take into considerations that these roads are not asphalt roads. They're what's called a three-shot road. So they're basically a chip seal on top of a chip seal on top of a chip seal roads that were built back in the 70s and the 80s for these residential rural community. It's not a true asphalt road. That's why they're failing. They're continuing to fall apart. The city did come through and re-chip seal, but it's still falling apart. We're putting Band-Aids on things that need major repair. To add this much traffic to it is going to devastate this community. The people that live in this neighborhood are going to be dumbfounded by the amount of traffic. My parents already live in Fairway Hills. My kids can't play out in the road in my parents' house. They live down the street from the former sheriff because traffic just cuts through and they're doing 35, 40 miles an hour. And those are curvy, windy roads. What's to say that the traffic isn't going to do 35, 40 miles an hour through Indian Meadows because, oh, I woke up 5 minutes late? I just disagree with it. And you're going to add a whole bunch of noise. I understand that the people at Coeur d'Alene North were complaining a couple of weeks ago about the noise. Well, we have a noise ordinance in the city of Coeur d'Alene for loud motors and exhausts and stereos and things of that nature. That starts at 9 o'clock at night. It has nothing to do with during the day or when people are eating dinner. We're talking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're adding this much traffic to it? Ain't gonna do nothing. I disagree. I don't think that they should have any access through Indian Meadows in any way, shape, or form. they should have to use Northshire, or I'm sorry, not Northshire, but Industrial, Hanley, and Hutter Road. Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Council members, thank you. I had a whole speech planned, but...
Have your name?
Oh, Nate Dyke, I live in Indian Meadows.
Thank you.
Appaloosa. But I just want to second everything everybody's been saying here already. I think everybody's done a great job, and you can see what a complex issue this is. When I was doing research for this, I asked Chris, and he's been a great help, Chris Bosley, just on the KMPO numbers. And what the projections are is it's 2/3 of Coeur's entire traffic is going east through Indian Meadows. That's a huge number. That's a huge impact for us. And again, I don't want to reiterate what everybody else has said, but in conjunction with that, I also took a look this summer at how many pedestrians are walking in front of my house on Appaloosa. And what I counted over the course of the month was about up to 60 people every day. It's 20 to 60 in that range, just in front of my house. And that doesn't include the full street. So you can only imagine what that would do. 5,000, 4,000 cars. How that affect those people and our families that would use that every day. My second point I just wanted to point out real quick. So I just have concerns about this concurrency analysis and how that's going to be conducted. I just feel it's insufficient and shifts the risks and burdens onto residents. As density increases with each new phase of Coeur, traffic impacts will only compound, yet connections like Appaloosa would be opened before the full picture is known. There needs to be a comprehensive understanding of the development's total traffic impacts before any eastern residential connections are made. Once the road is opened, neighbors will be at the city's mercy as to if or when mitigation happens. When Coeur was annexed, council specifically directed that traffic should move west toward Hutter and the arterials, yet we haven't received little assurance that this is actually being implemented. And thank you again for this opportunity. I think it's a great step in the right direction. I'm just hopeful that this conversation can continue and we can find something that maintains the rural nature and livability of our neighborhood. We understand development happens. We understand it's going to happen, and that's not, I don't think, what we're fighting against. We're fighting against just preserving the rural nature of our streets, for sure. So, thank you.
Thanks, Nate. Anyone else like to make some comments on the roads? You guys touched on a lot of an interesting perspective, you know. I think we went through this once before, and now we're a little closer. Things are starting to get a little closer. And you guys are actually coming up with some ideas, and I think that's good. That's probably what we needed along the way, so. Mr. Gookin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I would like to make a motion to direct staff to meet with the developer and discuss alternative routes to the east, specifically including Industrial Park, and not using either Nez Perce or Appaloosa. And if they could report back to us on what they find and how they're willing to change, or what the cost, what the impact would be. You guys can work it out, city can work it out, come back to us with a report. And I'd like to make sure that there was someone from the neighborhood involved in those discussions. And I don't know how to do that, but that would be good.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Is it appropriate for council to forward any opinions or thoughts to whoever this group is going to be to discuss it, or should we wait to do that when it comes back.
Well, again, it would be if you change it, it would be an amendment to the development agreement, which requires a public hearing, which requires that all the information you base your decision on be in public, so.
So we'll wait.
I would wait.
Mr. Mayor.
Christie.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out tonight to speak to this subject again. As you know, a couple of years ago, there's a lot of conversation back and forth, and I did vote no on this for the very reason of very much concerned about the connectivity to Indian Meadows. I've been here for decades. I'm very familiar with that neighborhood, 40 years of a rural neighborhood at least. And so I was really, really fearful of the impact of making that connectivity. And I did bring up at the time the question about industrial way. And the developer, what I recall, was very amenable to those kind of suggestions. At that time, there was a piece of property for sale. I don't know if it still is, but we could have maybe looked at that. I don't know if there's a avenue, but that's what Mr. Gookin is saying, let's go look at. I would love to preserve that neighborhood. I don't want to see the traffic through that neighborhood. I understand that Coeur will move forward. They just will. There's just growth is going to come, and hopefully we're managing it well by them coming back every time with us. But I think that they've been really cooperative as well. And at the time, I thought they were willing to look at other access points. So I am glad to hopefully see this go to staff for another look over and see if we can, as Suzanne says, before it becomes a traffic calming issue, do some planning now. And so I certainly approve of that motion.
Mr. English.
Well, I'm not clear on how many access roads we need. One, if we just pick one, that seems, I don't know that one would do it, no matter what. So I guess that's one thing, is to clarify. I was thinking we had said there's got to be at least two, and of course, common sense would be you'd spread them out a bit. So I guess that, and through this process, that gets clarified. The other thing, I guess my response, that there have been some comments about, whatever they did, and if they had to take neighbors' property to put in sidewalks, this or that, and I cannot imagine this, and I think I've said it before, but I cannot imagine the circumstance that we would ever do a eminent domain to get sidewalks going through there. It's hard to imagine, but anyway, so. But I would like to know if we're supposed to have one or two, so.
Do it later. Yep.
Nothing? All right. Joe, do you want to follow up and do a roll call?
Wood.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Gookin.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
All right. I need a recess motion if I could.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move to recess to Monday, October 27th, 2025, noon at the Library Community Room here for a council workshop with ITD regarding the US 95 I-90 interchange project.
Second.
Thank you, Kenny. Been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are in recess. Thank you, everyone.